Welcome to The Intuitive Therapist with Janis R. Cohen, therapist, clairvoyant, empath, and medium. Listen in as she takes a no-nonsense deep dive into real human struggles and how to resolve them. Janis will share channeled information from her spirit guide team, as well as angels and archangels, to help you master your emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual destiny. And now, Janis R. Cohen.
Hey y'all, this is Janis Cohen, the Intuitive Therapist, here on the Intuitive Therapist podcast. So glad y'all are with me today. I am talking about something that I feel like is so important to anyone who wants to feel better about their life. And I hope it helps you today. When I put these thoughts together, I felt good, and I felt like, you know what, it's so important for me to share what I learned in my life with you so that you can benefit and gain wisdom and then pay it forward in doing kindness and good deeds for other people. So I have to say I love all my clients, and I mean that, really. And I can say that because I choose who becomes my client. So work for me is really exciting and fun every single day. I wake up so excited and in love with what I do. And in a recent session with a client of mine, we talked about some of the things that were going on with him. And he inspired this podcast episode. And it's called The Power of Certainty, Why Believing That Anything is Possible Makes It a Reality. And we've connected and wanted to make sure that you know that I don't reveal client information, so I'm not going to give any other details, his name, where he is, where he lives, what he does, but just to share some wisdom, not only that he imparted to me, but that I felt like I connected with strongly. So recently we talked about this client's arrogance, and he will readily admit that he is arrogant now. He happens to be a very loving and sensitive man as well. But over the time that we have worked together, he's come to, I guess we'll say, an honest truth about himself, accepting things that he's kind of always known in the back of his mind about himself, but really has never admitted to anyone else. And I always laugh because the beauty and the privilege of what I get to do is that people, thank goodness, trust me to reveal their deepest, darkest, and most wonderful parts of themselves. And perhaps they've never ever done that with anybody else. So that's why I feel really privileged. So back to my client. He is an incredibly successful man, has money hand over fist. Everything he touches business-wise is successful. And he just keeps plowing forward in every aspect of his life. And here's the thing, since he was young, he knew that he was going to be a success. And that certainty resulted truly from his upbringing, not because his parents ingrained that into him that he was going to be a success or, that he had phenomenal relationships with both of his parents. He did have a wonderful relationship with his mother, but his relationship with his father was another thing entirely, and it definitely was not positive. Let's just say that my client grew up with nothing, and he made something out of himself. For him, anything is possible. That outlook doesn't come from a rosy perspective, y'all. It comes from an insatiable hunger to have what he wants, whenever he wants it, to do whatever he wants, and whenever he wants to. That's his motto. So he created a life where he can do that. To him, not possible is not even remotely in his vocabulary, y'all. It's really, really cool to have met him. And we talk all the time about how his beliefs about himself and his life have come to be. So recently, I mentioned to him that certainty can only be developed in two ways. One, a severe and unending drive to make sure that you never experience something again. And two, the knowledge that comes from having a history of successes that are evidence for you to expect and to know that what you want is just a decision away. Does that make sense to y'all? So either you're doing whatever it takes to avoid never feeling something again, poverty, grief, pain, sadness, whatever it is, right? Or you have enough evidence by history to know that whatever you do is going to be a success. So there are some people who, despite the same circumstances, become immobilized by life. They fall into the black hole of poverty mind, money, and meaning mindset. And then there are people like my client who could have become just like his dad, an alcoholic abuser who lived a lost life. But he didn't. So what did both my client becoming the anti-model of a poverty life and mindset and the person who becomes impaled by life have in common? They both have a certainty that life will be a particular way. One of them takes life by the balls and makes it how he wants it, and the other one lets life take him or her by the balls, dictating how life will be. There's a millimeter of difference between these two people, y'all, and I mean that. It's slight. One person fights for their life to be one way, and the other lets life beat them down so that life can only seem to be one way. So which one are you? Which one do you typically tend to be? The one who gets up and fights back and fights for what you want, or the one who feels like you have no fight left? Which one have you been, and why? If you want to pause this recording and write that down, I'd love for you to answer those questions. Which one are you now, and why? Think about a time in your life where you've been so freaking clear and certain about something that it's a given that it will happen. Maybe you've had one time in your life where that took place, maybe just once. And maybe it happened to you on a small scale, like you say, okay, well, I know the light's going to turn green, so I don't have to stop. And you knew it, and you willed it to be that way. Or you experienced something monumental, like knowing that you'd get full price for the house that you just put on the market. Or you were certain that you were going to pass that exam that you studied so hard for, or that you were going to find what you needed in the supermarket. I could tell you there are a number of times in my life where I have felt certain. And it's a feeling that's just deeply seated in me. And there's no question. And some of these are examples of examples that I've had in my life. I remember that early on, a number of years ago, when I invested in a program to change the trajectory of my practice, to change my whole business model. And I was at a point in my life where something had to change. I had to shift my business mindset, or else I wasn't going to really improve much in many areas at all. So I remember that I can't remember how long ago it was. There was a program that I was going to purchase for $1,000. And at the time, I was not doing well in my practice. And the only money that I had was the money for the first month's payment. That was it. I think there were 6 payments. And I only had money for the first. And I thought, you know what? I wanted this so bad. I was waiting for this program to come around. I'd seen it a year before. And I wasn't ready. I was too scared. And so finally it came around again. And I thought, I'm in. I don't care what it takes, not only to pay for it, but to recoup the money. I'm going to do it. So I did it. Again, having only money to pay the first month, I didn't know how I was going to pay the rest. And what I ended up doing, because I had such a clear certainty that I was going to make sure that this was a successful investment for me, is I made sure I did everything I needed to do. Everything that program taught me, I did. And within the first month of doing that program, I recouped not only the total amount for the program, but 12 times that in the first month. So I had a certainty that it was going to work. And there are a number of other times that I have believed and known that something was going to work out. And I feel like, most importantly, having a certainty is less risky when you know that what will result, A, predominantly is what you want, but more importantly, B, what you need. That is where certainty gets its roots. So, like I said, think about a time in your life where you've been so freaking clear and certain about something that it's a given that it'll happen. And tap into that certainty. Just connect with that for a moment. What were you doing? What kind of thoughts did you have? What kind of things did you need to believe in to have a certainty? What kind of feeling or feelings did you need to embody to have that certainty? How did you stand? How did you hold your body? How did you walk? What did you do to affirm that certainty? You see, at some point in your life, you really did tap into that level of certainty that was so profoundly strong that nobody could unhinge you from it. Maybe you took a stand for a cause. Maybe you took a stand for yourself. That is the certainty that I'm speaking about today. The certainty that is so deep and so true for you that even if you stood on the tippy top of your pinky toe of your right foot and someone challenged your ability to do, be, or have what you said you will have, and they tried to knock you off your certainty, they couldn't. You'd be rock solid. And I bring this topic to you today because I want you to know that you can live with this type of conviction in your life with almost anything and every day. It's not that I'm encouraging you to act like you're right all the time. What I am asking you is to begin to adopt an attitude of why not when anybody attempts to tell you that you can't. You might hear people say, you're going to do what? You can't hire a person to do that for you. Or you're insane to tell me that that's going to happen. Or they plant some doubt like, okay, well, hope it works. Any number of those statements can freak you out if you're not certain, and especially who you share the information with. So know that when you're certain about something, nobody can remove that certainty unless you allow them. And then you can say right back to them, you're insane for telling me that I can't. That lets me know that you haven't opened up your mind enough. And it lets me know that there's some work that you need to do about the idea of possibility thinking. It lets me know that I need to not only develop a deeper level of compassion for you, if you're not choosing to think like me, but also deepen my commitment to my goals that much more and show the world how things come to me easily and effortlessly because I already believe they're mine and they already exist for me to have. I just need to do the due diligence to have them. That's what certainty is. It's a knowing, and then all you do is once you vibrationally partner with the universe, you just got to do what you need to do to bring it about. And when I give you this feedback about what to say to people who are, like Debbie Downers or, they doubt you, I want you to think about the fact that there may be people who know better. So in all honesty, if you trust this person, if they truly have expertise, then you could listen to them and say, okay, well, wait a minute. If they're saying you could have more certainty doing X, Y, and Z, and they still support me, great. But if they're one of these people who is always negative, always critical, somebody who really isn't happy in their own life, so they can't really encourage you to be happy in yours, then you got to think about who you're listening to. So I want you to have this kind of unwavering belief system. And if you don't have it, then you haven't tapped into your why yet. You haven't reached deep down inside yourself to connect with the reason why you should and can want for more. But also, more importantly, why you settle for less. You haven't connected with that part of you that refuses to have anything less than what you know you want and know you need in your life. People who are insanely happy really happy and successful live in this flow all of the time. It's as if they know their life is going to be good no matter what. They know that it's a given that they'll have what they want because they claim that before anything ever happens. What are you prepared to claim in your life and go after it with wild abandon? The time is now, sweetheart. The time is now to move in the direction of your dreams and to make them a reality, no matter what it takes and no matter what you need to do. I want you to stand in your certainty even when everyone else tries to knock you down or tells you to play on the safe side of life, on the sidelines. No more sideline living. It's time to believe that the world is your oyster and you're the pearl sitting pretty right in the middle. Hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. I hope it inspired you to stand firm in your life. It's so important to have that grounding, to feel like you know what you're doing. And if you feel like you'd like to experience that but don't, find someone to speak with. Reach out to me. You know how to do it. Call me at my office, 404-558-3971, or reach out to me via email, Janis@janisrcohen.com. I'd love to help, either through a reading or, if you'd like to truly invest in your life, through intuitive therapy. I always encourage y'all, please take a few moments, hop on over to iTunes and give a rating and write a quick review about what impact you have experienced from listening to my podcast. I've really enjoyed reading what people have written, and the emails that I keep getting, it's just overwhelming, and I feel so grateful, y'all, really to be of service. I wish you a wonderful day, a blessed week, and as always, live intuitively.
Thanks for listening to The Intuitive Therapist with Janis R. Cohen. If you like what you heard, the best compliment you can give us is to share this podcast with a friend and subscribe, rate, and review at iTunes.